Dr. Asatar Bear from Meditation 2.0. So when you first start meditating, a question that comes up quite a bit is, how long should I spend doing this? And the short answer to this question is, you should spend the right amount of time doing it. The time that's right for you. But let me go into a little bit more detail, because it does depend on what are your goals with meditation. So it's often thought that meditation is about non-doing. It's a time, not to have so many goals, not to try to be making stuff happen. And there's some truth in this, because meditation is a experience of unity that you cannot make that happen. You can open yourself to that, and it's a gift. But nonetheless, there are skills in meditation, right? So, and like any skill set, if you work at it, then your skills will develop. And in terms of these skills, well, it depends what skills you need depends on what are your goals with the meditation. So in this video, I want to talk about some of the common goals that people might have for meditating, and then what that translates into in terms of a time commitment for your practice. Number one, to relieve stress. This is probably the single biggest reason that people start meditating. Let's say you have high blood pressure, or you have heart arrhythmia, or another early warning sign of stress on your heart. These days, doctors will tell you meditation might be a good idea for you, which is an amazing time. I think this is probably the first time in history that doctors would say stuff like that. So these are all perfectly good reasons to meditate. And for this type of situation, 5 to 10 minutes a day actually make a huge difference. So number two is to improve some aspect of yourself. Maybe you want to be able to handle more without feeling so stressed. Maybe you want to feel more calm. Maybe you don't want to get upset. Maybe you want to be able to hold your temper. So now this is a different thing than just dealing with stress. All right, I want to point out that now we've entered the realm of self-improvement. You're not just trying to relax. Almost any kind of meditation technique will help you to relax. When we start talking about, well, I want to change something about myself, I want to improve certain qualities of myself, then we're talking about a different thing, right? You have the personality that you have, and it served you well, let's say, right? But there's certain things you don't like about it. There's certain things you want to change. We all do. So now we're talking about using meditation to bring out different qualities and different energies in yourself. So one way of understanding this would be to say, doing meditation for stress relief is kind of like getting a massage in order to ease muscle tension. It'll do that very well. Versus trying to be able to deal better with stress, which meditation can also help you with. Well, that's kind of like being more relaxed during the day so you don't build up as much muscle tension, or improving your posture, or moving more so that you don't tend to build up that tension. So in this situation, we're looking at a daily time commitment. I would recommend 10 to 20 minutes. So number three is to cope with a major challenge in your life. Some kind of big change, some kind of new source of stress. It could be a change in your relationships, a change in your career. It could be anything. But it's to cope with a major challenge. An example that springs to mind for me is my wife. During her pregnancy with our first child, she was very motivated to meditate every day, because she was concerned about the challenge of labor and giving birth, and so she was really motivated by this challenge, and so she meditated every day. And by the way, she did an amazing job with her delivery, and everything went really well. So to help you cope with a challenge, you're going to need more. You're going to need more energy. You're going to need more resources. It's going to take you more time on a daily level. So for this, I'd recommend 20 to 40 minutes. Number 4 is to heal emotional trauma. So what I mean by this is, something that happened in your past that inflicted severe pain or trauma on you. Many people have these wounds in their hearts that are from childhood, or it could be from adulthood as well. I don't want to limit this, but it's some kind of intense experience which causes you pain and suffering in an ongoing way. And if it had to do with childhood, it probably affected the development of your personality. And so these kinds of issues, are very pressing. The need for healing is very acute, and meditation can help you to heal and restore yourself from trauma of all kinds. But this is more difficult. It requires combing through your past and understanding your identity in a new way, and re-experiencing painful memories, or maybe some of them have been suppressed, changing your relationships with your past self and with the people who traumatized you, let's say. This requires a lot more energy. It often requires more support. Retreats can be helpful. Personal guidance and teaching can be quite helpful in this situation. So for this, we're looking at more time, 40 to 60 minutes in terms of daily practice. Number 5 is to understand the true nature of yourself, to experience God, to achieve the state of unity, to make progress toward greater spiritual attainment, culminating in illumination or enlightenment. So this is a big aspiration. If you have this aspiration, I salute you. If not, that's okay too. All of these are good reasons to meditate. For me, this has always been the main one. I grew up meditating. I come from a family of spiritual teachers, so I was exposed to meditation at a very young age, and this was my aspiration since I can remember. So, if this is your aim, and it's a very, very noble aim, it's going to take more. What you do each day, it becomes very important. We're looking at a daily time commitment of 60 to 90 minutes, because the skills that are required from you in meditation are much greater. The challenges are greater. The distance that you need to travel is greater. Now, what you do each day might not be enough. If this is your goal, it's good to have a teacher, and you'll probably need intensive periods where you go even deeper into this. So retreats are very, very helpful. That is a period of time where you set it aside and you pretty much meditate all the time during that period of time. It might be 3 days, it might be a week, or 10 days or longer. So this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list of all the reasons why you might meditate, but it gets us started, and I hope it provides some of the big reasons. So I first of all, I just want to say I think it's amazing that there's something that you can do for 5 minutes a day that would make a big impact on you. And that's part of the power of meditation. Even if you said, well, what about 20 minutes? 20 minutes is not very much of the day, right? Isn't it incredible that you could spend a relatively brief period of time doing something, anything, and that it would have such a big impact on you? I think that's amazing. So the other thing that happens over time as you continue to practice meditation, like anything else, is you tend to see more in it. So if you start with 5 minutes a day, you might start seeing, well, gosh, meditation can do a lot more than I thought. I thought it would just be about helping me be a little bit less stressed, but other things might start happening, exciting things might start happening. Now, the other thing that might happen if you go through a period of very intense practice and study of meditation is you might find that your skill gets to a certain level so that you can do more in a less amount of time. So I don't want to make it seem like this is some kind of multitasking thing or something. It's just that meditation opens you to certain states of being, and This is one of the most fundamental aspects of meditation, is learning how to open yourself to these different states of being. It starts with what we call concentration, right? The focusing of the mind. And then you just get into the state of flow, right? Where it all just, well, flows. The meditation becomes easy. You're in the groove, or you're in the zone. And eventually you achieve the state of unity. So oneness with all beings and all things. This is an amazing thing to have happen. What happens over time is that you can get there in a shorter amount of time. So in my 26 years or so of daily meditation practice, there's a lot of time in there where I meditated for 20 or 30 minutes. There were certainly some days where I meditated for 5 minutes or less. Not too many of those. There were some days where I missed as well. Again, not very many of those. I was always pretty serious about it. And then there were a lot of days where I did an hour or more. I've had stretches of time where I did 3 or 4 hours a day on a consistent level. And then I had periods of time on retreat where I meditated all day and, perhaps part of the night as well. So I might have meditated 18 to 20 hours a day during those brief periods. And, this is something that I highly recommend because you make just such a great leap forward. Now, of course, this is always best done under the guidance of a teacher. That's how you make the most progress with meditation, like anything else. You really learn how to do it. These days, I meditate for about an hour a day in a single session in the morning, and I might add another session later in the day or in the evening. I find that I need less time in order to access the state of unity, to access the state of meditation. So that's one of the things that happens over time. So in the past, what I call meditation 1.0, if you wanted to really learn and practice meditation, you went off to be alone, basically. You went off into the wilderness, or maybe in like a small group of students studying with a teacher, or in an isolated community that didn't have a lot to do with the outside world. So during this era of human development, pretty much the sole aim of meditation was spiritual development. So these practitioners put in thousands and thousands, maybe millions of hours of labor into meditation. The basic understanding was that you pretty much had to meditate all the time in order to really make progress. So we can kind of see this story being reflected in one of the greatest spiritual masters of all time, whose story we remember even 2,500 years later, and I'm referring to Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha. So, he was, of course, a prince who left his very comfortable, isolated life in order to unravel the great mystery of why do people suffer. So his goal was to reach enlightenment. So he learns meditation, and it's initially with a small group of other students. He goes off into the wilderness, and they practice meditation pretty much all the time, combined with fasting, and Siddhartha becomes as thin as a skeleton, right? He talks about he can grasp hold of his own spine with his hands. That's how thin he's become. So incredible dedication to this path of asceticism, of self-denial, of discipline. And this story illustrates, well, what did it take to follow this path? Well, to give up his family, all of his possessions, and go off into the wilderness. Right? And that's still how we think about meditation today. Eventually, he meditates underneath the Bodhi tree for 40 days and 40 nights, and reaches enlightenment and becomes one of the greatest teachers of humanity, and teaches for many, many years and to thousands and thousands of people. And this story has made such a deep impression on us as human beings. Uh, it's an amazing story, but it affects how we think about, well, what is meditation? What does it take to really get good at it? It takes something like this. So think about, well, what would Buddha or one of his fellow sages say if you asked them, so what's the daily time commitment for meditation? Well, they'd probably be pretty puzzled by the question, because for them, it's like every single waking moment. And also, they might not have slept that much either, right? I mean, how much do you think Buddha slept underneath the Bodhi tree during 40 days and 40 nights? Probably not very much. So the question that arises when you have this kind of story is, well, how can you learn meditation and have a full life? How can you do this when you have a family, a job, responsibilities, etc.? It doesn't really seem like you can, right? That's meditation 1.0. Right? Meditation 2.0 changes this and says, how can we bring the powerful techniques of meditation and energize your ordinary life, right? To live better and to be more yourself, to bring the awareness that we're all connected, that we're all one, into everything that you do. So what I see is that pretty much every spiritual teacher in the world right now is dealing with the same question, which is, how can you help people to be happier, more productive, more themselves, while at the same time going through life knowing that we are all one, right? That's the challenge. That's what I call meditation 2.0. It's about, how do we take that challenge on? Life has a purpose, and each life has a purpose. Every being has a purpose. Every experience has a purpose. We're here to be full human beings, and that means experiencing every part of life. We want to experience it with the understanding, with the consciousness, with the feeling that there's really only one reality, and that each one of us is the whole, is the universe. That's your true nature as a human being. And life is pretty short. We're here to make the most of it. And meditation ought to help you with that. I'm Dr. Asatar Bear for Meditation 2.0. Thank you so much for watching this video. Namaste.